What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about two big publishers not going to Gamescom 2021. Now, this obviously came out a few days ago, where they announced all of the people, or all of the publishers that are going to be going to Gamescom, and it's a good list, and I want to make it clear that I'm not saying the show is going to be garbage. I'm not saying there's nobody going and there's no reason to watch. I mean, if you think that, that's totally cool, but in my opinion, two stand out in terms of who is not going. We can talk about who is going as well. The two that are not going are Sony and WB Games. Those are the two, in my opinion. I'm sure I'm not thinking of every single publisher under the sun. I'm sure I'm missing some, but in my opinion, out of the ones that they listed, the biggest ones not there are those two. Again, are there big ones there? Yeah, Activision is going, which I think is pretty interesting for Call of Duty, and even for like a Crash/Spyro opportunity. We know they've done that in the past with Jeff Keighley, Bandai Namco, Bethesda, EA. Those are all huge, right? Even Koch Media is pretty sizable. Ubisoft and Xbox. Oh, and I don't want to leave out Sega, so let's throw them in too. So there's a fair amount of publisher. In fact, there's actually a lot. There's quite a few. I think Gamescom is going to be pretty rock solid this year. Last year, we've talked about it, and I watched it last year. I thought Jeff Keighley actually did a pretty solid job. In my opinion, Gamescom last year cemented what I would call like a Jeff Keighley conference, like what you could expect. You know, we've seen the Game Awards before, we've seen Summer Game Fest, and I think, at least in my opinion, last year's Gamescom was like, okay, now I'm really starting to piece together what Jeff Keighley likes to do, what he doesn't like to do, what his tendencies are, and that's what they did last year at Gamescom. There were some big things, there were some medium-sized things, and then there was everything else, and of course, it's not going to be for everybody. Of course, you know, some people hated it, some people loved it, some people were in between, and I'm not here to judge you, right? In terms of the two that are not going, though, let's talk about that real fast. Sony and WB Games. Look, I understand why any publisher would want to and would not want to be part of anything. I've never, in the past many years, I've never looked at it as a thing to talk against Sony by them not going to E3. You know, really oftentimes when it gets to E3, people will say, man, I really wish Sony was there, or they're making a big mistake by not being there. No, they're not. No, they are absolutely not. And maybe that's just because I hate E3 so passionately, and I just wish it, I wish that it just goes away. Maybe that kind of is like blinding me, right? Kind of like the Sith and the Jedi. Maybe that's just blinding me to what's really going on. But I really don't think it's a big deal. Same thing I would argue for Gamescom, but there is a little asterisk there, right? Because it's like with both of these companies, it's okay, and I don't blame them for not going to Gamescom. You know what I mean? Like, if you told me Sony's not going to Gamescom, I'd say fine. You know what I mean? Why would you go? And you could say the same thing in reverse. I mean, again, I'm not talking down the show. Trust me, I'm not, because we were going to talk a lot about the show over the next month. I'll be watching it. Maybe we'll co-stream it, all that kind of stuff. And, well, I should make it clear too, technically, Gamescom is like an opening night kickoff, and that's like the Summer Game Fest opening night kickoff, or Game Awards, right? Where it's like a 1 to 2 hour live stream. It's Jeff Keighley, and they announce things, they go through that, okay? But Gamescom technically is like a 4 to 5 day event as well. You get most of the info in that live stream, and then the next couple days you get, it's more like individual games, get more highlights, or maybe you learn something about a game. So I'm kind of, when I'm talking about the pros and cons of going, I'm more or less talking about that opening night live stream, because I think it's fair to say that's what people really care about. You know what I mean? People watch Xbox Bethesda's E3. How many of those people watch the rest of E3? Probably not a lot. Summer Game Fest, a lot of people watched that, you know, opening live stream. How many people watched what would be considered the rest of Summer Game Fest? Very few. Okay, so that's you know, it's maybe not fair to them for sure, but I think it's just the reality of the situation, right? But for Sony and WB Games, I get why they're not going. However, they're both in a situation where they're kind of making people mad, and that's I think what it boils down to. Sorry, it took me 4.5 minutes to get there, but that's ultimately what it comes down to. I think when you see that they're not going, at least for me, it's not so much disappointment that, oh, you know, you're not going to give Jeff Keighley things to talk about, or you're not going to show God of War at Gamescom. Was I ever really expecting that? No. But the bigger thing is like, well, you do have things you can talk about. See, that's the thing. All of these, really, most companies probably always have things they could talk about. It's just they kind of choose not to, or there are situations, obviously, where it's like they can't get a trailer done in time, or they don't want to pull the team off of the game, because making presentation-like things for these events, they can take like 2 to 4 weeks. And that's a lot of time when you consider that they should be making a game and they have to kind of pull themselves away from that to do this stuff. So it is understandable, all right? But Sony does have a lot of stuff, and they have, I would argue, made people very upset with how they've handled talking about things really ever since last year. I think they crushed it last year with the June and September event, the two really big PS5 events. And then after that, I haven't minded their indie state of plays and their state of plays focusing on specific games. In fact, they've been doing that for quite a while. Or even the one we just got with like Deathloop as the highlight and then a couple other games as kind of like the following act, right? Or they're like the opening act and then the main act is Deathloop, right? I don't mind it, but it's like, do I want a big Sony event? Yeah. And do I think they have stuff to talk about? Of course they do. Of course they do. So not being at Gamescom, but also not being very open. And again, is it working for them? It's not hurting them. It's really not hurting them all that much by being so secretive. So, you know, we can complain all we want, but ultimately, we're still buying the consoles. We're still buying the games. And then with WB Games, it's honestly, it's not the exact same thing, but it's close. Lego Star Wars. What in God's name is going on? Gotham Knights. You expect they're holding that for DC Phantom. Suicide Squad holding it for DC Phantom. Hogwarts Legacy. Been a while. In fact, we're approaching a full year. In September, it'll be a full year, right? So, and you know, Injustice, or I guess NetherRealm, what are they doing? Are they making Injustice 3? Are they making a Marvel game? There's a lot of and you know, they're merging with Discovery, all this stuff. Like, I get it. They're busy. They have a lot on their plate, but there are a lot of games that they're working on, and so it's kind of the same thing. We know they could say something. Just say Lego Star Wars has been delayed till 2022. Give us a new trailer. Do something, right? They could do that. And now, am I saying go to Gamescom just to delay Lego Star Wars? No, although that would definitely be something, right? But that's kind of the point. I think both of them have things they want to talk about, and they're just not doing it, and that upsets people. And then on top of that, when you find out they're not going to Gamescom, it's even more upsetting because it's like, well, truly it is. It's a major event. It maybe isn't the biggest of the main events of the year. In fact, I'd argue maybe it's the smallest, unless you count maybe TGS, which is big in its own respect, but smaller compared to E3. Even like the Game Awards gets a lot of hype and expectations like leading into it, right? Gamescom is definitely on the lower end, but it's an event. It's a big event. There's only like a handful, 5-6 events that happen in a given year, and Gamescom is one of them. And then when you don't go, it's fine. In my opinion, it's fine. I don't care. I don't care if you don't go to E3. I don't care if you don't go to Gamescom. But if you have stuff you want to talk about, and we kind of know is like right there, and you don't do it, but then you also don't announce it, it gets aggravating. It gets aggravating for people. I see it online all the time, and I understand it. So let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? What do you think about the people that are going, or the publishers that are going? What do you think about Sony and WB Games that aren't going? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Give this video a like, would definitely help it out. Thank you for watching, guys. I do a brand new video on this channel every single day, and so I hope to see you guys for tomorrow's video.